Hello there everybody and welcome to the video, and this is, yes, some Rainbow Six content, and it's something I've wanted to do for a little while and the type of content that I've wanted to see for a while as well, and that is pro demo reviews, specifically focusing on a single player's point of view, because obviously players at the top level do a lot of cool stuff that you can implement in your own ranked gameplay, so I'm hoping to do a bunch of these videos going forward. Without further ado though, let's jump into the video, and as the title suggests, we're going to be looking at Freezer on Oregon and some cool stuff you can do to improve your hold on that particular part of the map. Alrighty then, I have jumped into a custom map real quick, and this is mainly for players that don't really have a good grasp as to what the default hold currently is for Freezer, and even for those that do, perhaps providing some context as to why this sort of style might be a little bit outdated in the current meta. If you are gold or above, you can probably skip this section if you have a pretty good idea as to how this is held at the moment by most teams anyway, especially in ranked. I'll have the timestamps below or on the timeline, the chapters, so you can skip forward if required. But if you want to hang around, this is basically how Freezer is being held at the moment, and again, we'll offer some context as to why the demo will show. Perhaps you can think about it a little bit more differently. So the main thing to really think about, and this is sort of the heart and the soul of the Freezer hold at the moment, and that is opening up the right hand side of this wall from laundry and then reinforcing the left hand side, and as you'll see in a moment, opening up this side of the wall opens a lot more angles so that attackers can't freely walk into this particular room. Now there is a personal preference about making this vaultable or not, has its pros and cons. If you're quite aggressive in Freezer, it offers a route out, but then if the attackers get control, obviously they can manipulate that. They'll be able to vault in, pressure pillar, get quick side entry, etc. So that's that main line of sight. You'll also see teams holding it quite deep from inside of laundry, and that's facilitated by the rotate here between sites. That's particularly default. You may even see teams use a deployable shield, for example, to hold this a little bit more aggressively, whether it be here or even here, for example. And then of course here through con, you'll also typically see some sort of variation of lines of sight here that again provide an additional angle in towards Freezer. So as an attacker, when you're coming down the stairs, you do have a little bit to worry about. As you'll see though, and as I'll explain throughout the video, it's actually not as strong as a defender as you would otherwise expect. Once you've cleared the boost angle here, and if you've got an LMG, if you've got a high magnification scope, pre-firing, swinging these angles as an attacker, honestly, not that particularly difficult. As a defender, of course, focusing more so on that at the moment. Some of the angles you'll typically see and be played in ranked, first one being this boost. You can get this line of sight. You can use this for an early pick, or at least to gather some information whilst playing relatively safely inside of Freezer. Again though, this angle sort of is being manipulated quite well by the attack at the moment, and most competent attackers are going to pre-fire this most of the time anyway. Outside of that, you can alternatively play behind the locker if you want to be a little bit more aggressive, and then especially at the death late round, you'll see a lot of players tucked behind this box here with about 30 seconds to go, whatever the case may be, knowing that the attackers will eventually get control of Freezer, and you try and play this position for a pick or two, or even to try and stay alive. And this facilitates you to also defend pillar, default plant, blue rotate, etc. That's the main sort of gist of Freezer. So again, just to reiterate, you have this line of sight which covers the Freezer entry and allows you to play from deep inside of laundry. You have connector angles as well, even long hallway if you want to be a little bit aggressive. And then of course, inside of Freezer itself, you'll typically see the boost plate above the locker, perhaps even wide swinging the locker. And then the safest position currently, most would believe to be, is behind the box here. So with a bit of projectile denial, and you'll play this late to the death, again offering you alternatives to defend other pushes as well. So with that explained, let's jump into the demo. Alrighty, here we are then, inside of the demo, and this is round 11 from Elevate versus Chiefs in APAC South Stage 2. For a little bit of context, Elevate are basically the best team in APAC South at the moment, back-to-back major qualifications. Chiefs qualified for Charlotte in Stage 1, but they did drop off a little bit in Stage 2. So in terms of how balanced this match is, Elevate, pretty heavy favourites heading into it, but as you can see, the scoreline is still relatively competitive, and Elevate made to work for it to some extent. Now, we're going to focus in specifically on Sapper's point of view. We're going to watch the entire round from his point of view. So far, he's done all the default rotates. That's your job here as the smoke to make sure that you're opening these lines of sight. As you can see, and as we mentioned earlier, the default rotate, the con angles. The big difference really is this freezer wall and the way in which it has been opened here by Elevate. You have footholds on the southern side, on the right hand side if you're looking from the freezer perspective, with head holes to the left. So not reinforced at all. Don't mind this from Elevate. A little bit more aggressive. You do run the risk of, again, attackers getting control of freezer. They'll be able to prone into sight. But with footholds established, arguably the defense have a stronger advantage of denying that entry outright. So we'll see, of course, how that does end up playing out. Sapper will post himself up here on the freezer stairs. Now, you might be wondering, you might be thinking, that is insane. Why would you want to hold that? That's way too aggressive. You're just going to get picked. They're just going to rush you down the stairs. Not so easy. You see ADS devices on the left-hand side of the screen now. Bit of projectile denial. You also have Mr. Punch playing the Wamai, so more magnets available. And there's also barbed wire here being played off of. Sapper has he throws the first gas canister now, so that's just a glitch in the demo. And he's going to just pre-place that. And at the first side of pressure, he'll be able to use that. And ensure that he doesn't get rushed down the stairs. Two things he's doing as well that are really important, and this is not specific to freezer, this is just playing an anchor role in general or holding any part of any map really, is one, checking defaults at the start of the round to know where the push is coming from and to give calls to any roams you may have, and two, having players set up to deny drones. You can see another player here inside of lobby also doing the same thing, and this is just for free. Sapper misses the shot there, unfortunately, so it doesn't highlight my point particularly well. But in an ideal world, if that drone wide swings, he gets it for free. He's not under any pressure and he denies some information. He'll fall back though, play his time. The barricade now is down, so he has to be quite vigilant here. And one thing that Sapper does quite a lot is he holds down these angles, ADS ready to go. If someone wide swings him, he should be able to win the fight still. So again, he sits back, he waits. He knows that he needs the attack to play into his hands. And ultimately, his goal is to play for his life here. He probably doesn't expect to live till the late round. He expects to live until 30 seconds to go, where he's found a pick or two and made that freezer push really difficult. Then allows the rest of the teams with the setup already established to play into that really well and find those picks required to close out the round. Now, freezer here will be opened up. The hatch will be opened up. And this does limit the play area here significantly for Sapper. Now, in post, during the edit, I'll draw a line as to where the attackers can actually see through that hatch. It's a very awkward angle, and the defenders actually can see the feet of the attackers before the attackers see the defender, if that makes sense. So, because of the way perspectives and angles work, the defender can see up through the hatch, see the feet first, and land some shots and sort of push that attacker back from the hatch. That said, it still does box that player in, and depending on how the attacker plays and what sort of angle they're holding and the timing they have, if Sapper does eventually feel the need to try and get out of freezer and feels like his job is done, it is pretty unlikely that he'll be able to make it around the corner. So the hatch is probably the biggest threat if you do want to hold freezer like this, and it's probably the biggest reason why I was so skeptical of it when I saw it at first. We'll continue the VOD though. Back to Sapper's point of view, and half the round is gone now, so 90 seconds remain, and Sapper will use the first of his gas canisters. Now there'll be some util dumped into that position, and you can see Sapper straight away off the back of that sees that the stairs are clear and actually pushes through the smoke, which gives him really good coverage and allows him to catch a player off guard. We'll go back 5 seconds and we'll quickly actually watch that from Bouncing's perspective. He's the one that took the damage, and he's actually caught out here with a flash in hand because the Chiefs at this moment in time are trying to clear that utility out and nade Sapper from this position, but he's making things very, very difficult. And Worthy here also caught with util in hand, and we'll see exactly what this grenade does, but yeah, not much. Sapper doesn't take any damage whatsoever as he's already fallen back. And that's one of the things that he does really, really well. And if you want to hold this position, you'll need to do basically perfectly as well, is have a really good judge for when you need to hold position, when you need to push position, force yourself aggressively onto the attack, and ultimately when you need to completely run away. And that's something he does really, really well. And honestly, it would just be an experience thing. I'm assuming he's practiced this position in scrims somewhat, so he would know sort of how to play it. Because just being thrown into the deep end, any player is going to find this position, I think, quite difficult to judge one. We'll roll the clip forward, though. And the Chiefs have basically given up on util and just pushed straight down the stairs. Sapper, again, though, is ready. And we'll pause it again quickly because I think many players there probably would have gotten greedy, gone for the second pick. And as the attacker started to push back a little bit, that would have opened up the range, and the shotgun probably wouldn't have been as effective as it was there for the first pick. So Sapper does a good job to sort of sit back, but he doesn't go so far back that he exposes himself to the hatch. So he's playing this really sort of narrow playing field at the moment, but doing a really good job at it. More util, but it gets caught. That from Sapper was an ill-advised peek, but he gets away with it and survives. Uses that second gas canister to just waste a little bit more time. More util coming in here, still being eaten up, but the Chiefs haven't done a great job in timing it, and he knows that. Takes his attention over towards the hatch, looks at that one-way angle, doesn't find a pick though. And I think Sapper here probably made the mistake of not holding the stairs even longer. He probably could have gotten away with it. He still had a gas canister in hand, and he already did a really good job in being able, I guess, to waste the Chiefs' time. Probably frustrate them quite a bit on that hold. We'll play out the rest of the clip because he's already gotten a man advantage for his team and wasted quite a bit of time. Ethan does get a pick on the entry, again showing that holding deep inside of laundry here, not really ideal, and the Chiefs now have relatively good control here of Freezer. We'll see how the rest of the round plays out because I genuinely can't actually remember how it concludes. We see that box position re-aggressed on. We're also seeing a player on long holding these angles as well. No back pressure here from the Chiefs. Elevate have a good read on that and manage to trade out a pick. Leaves it in the 2 versus 2. Still the box position being held by Mr. Punch. That's going to be tricky to clear with no util. And I would expect here that the Chiefs don't have the advantage. That said, Worthy still finds a good pick deep. Leaves Mr. Punch in the 1 versus 1. And he will actually end up winning that out because Digital is not in the best of positions. So I hope that round sort of displays well how you can hold that position well. And that's not a perfect example. Again, I still think Sapper could have held the stairs more aggressively. He still had the canister and the Chiefs didn't have the util to clear him. However, it showed that during the early to mid-round portion, you can do a lot of damage from here and really set your team up for a victory. But with that demo done, I still have one more example of Sapper holding this position and perhaps some of the other things you can do to just tweak it a little bit. So I've jumped in now to actually the very next play day. Again, Elevate taking on Fury. Once again, we're going to watch it from Sapper's point of view. Same map, same place, and a very similar approach to how Elevate and Sapper want to defend Freezer here on Oregon. And we'll just pause it very quickly because it looks very similar to last time, right? Sapper's sitting back, waiting for drones. And this is probably a good opportunity maybe to just take a step back and think about, what if someone does this against you? How are you going to try and counter this? And I thought that this was a really intriguing way that Fury tried to counter this hold. Now, perhaps they had a really good read that Sapper and Elevate were going to do it in this particular match. And as you can see, of course I went to the right play last. Lycolis actually goes to the drone hole. And there is an angle you can get here through this little gap through the drone hole that looks towards the top of Freezer stairs, and you can see he tries to use this to actually get a kill, and both players are pretty clued into this actually being an angle. Now I think the drone soaks up a little bit of damage there, and Lycolis ultimately doesn't get a pick, but certainly just something to keep in mind if you are looking to counter this in some way. I don't think it'd be overly effective, but I thought it was pretty funny nonetheless. Now we're just gonna quickly go through this VOD and use this as an opportunity to maybe see if there's ways you can be a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more proactive, especially against that hatch control, right? You saw it last time. That was Sapper's downfall. The hatch eventually caught him out and was the reason why he died. Fury this time, compared to the Chase, a little bit more aggressive on Vert, having that control up above. Sapper certainly can't swing and be as aggressive as he may otherwise want to be from this position. And he's smart. He just sits back. He's conservative. He's not going to throw away his life. Again, just reiterating the importance of this position. And if you want to play aggressive like this, you can't be expecting to get 3 kills every round and run up the stairs as you'd please, especially against good teams. You might be able to get away against that against some ranked teams that aren't particularly coordinated, but most of the time, if you're playing at a plat or above level, you might find that a little bit difficult. Nonetheless, he goes back to sort of this safety zone, if you would, EMPs are available, so that's going to weaken some of that projectile denial. Sapper, though, reads into it. He falls back. He plays it smart. The hatch hasn't been opened yet. He gets spotted out by the Gemini, though, and he actually times his aggression to get 2 kills. 3 kills, which is just an absolute insane play when you think about it. But it was actually really well calculated, and I think, again, any power position, but especially if you want to try this on Freezer, and it's just so difficult to teach and to learn, but it's having the ability to remain composed during these moments. Sapper doesn't hesitate. He doesn't look frazzled or confused, and he just plays it so cool, calm, and collected. Is it advisable to swing that when they have the information against you with the Gemini and the hatch has just been open? Maybe not, but sometimes the most unpredictable play is the most effective in Siege, right? There's countless times where you're playing and someone does something quote-unquote stupid or silly or whatever, and you lose to it. I mean, it's just how the game goes. So we'll just watch it back again, and we'll actually watch it at half speed, just to get just to slow it down and probably see it the way Sapper did in the moment, right? So again, grenade takes away his projectile denial. That's a cue to fall back. A half-decent nade, you're dead. So that's exactly what he does. Meanwhile, you can hear the sound cue. The hatch is being opened up. While the hatch is getting opened up, the Gemini goes across and spots him. So Dark right now is calling to Fury, push down, push down. He's fallen back. He sees that as a cue now to actually re-aggress, and that Gemini gets taken down, so Dark doesn't have a great read on that, and he just uses that to find one pick after another. He sees the feet of the Zofia first and gets that, and then somehow manages to get a third. Now, the third there probably shouldn't really be happening. Dark just loses that, I think, mainly to Pika's advantage, and Sapper does get taken very low. But again, it was an unpredictable play. He made it work. I mean, Hajime, who's on the hatch, it does get timed here. We'll watch it from his perspective because he had that hatch angle, which arguably is going to be the most dangerous part here. But they're distracted on drones. So Sapper, by going for that unpredictable play, has timed his opponents. By the time Hajime comes across to hold that, it's already too late. Sees the feet though and does eventually find the kill, so trades it out. But damage has already been done. Sapper, 2v4, he's won the round for his team. So yeah, I just wanted to quickly highlight that particular round to show that sometimes going for unpredictable plays, being aggressive when you have a really, really confident read as to what's taking place, can sometimes be the right play. And perhaps thinking back to the first demo, maybe Sapper could have used that there instead of falling back when arguably it was an even safer position. But with that all said and done, that will conclude this video. Now, I really want this to be quite an interactive sort of series of videos. So I'd really encourage you, if there's a particular player or play or game or round or anything that you'd love me to watch and review, especially from regions outside of APAC South and APAC North, I would really, really appreciate that, because I think it's always good to get a perspective from a whole wide range of players and different metas. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And I hope to catch you guys in the next one.